We just made these amazing Chef Alejandro fajitas in under 30 minutes, sourced from our local carniceria. Check out how awesome it was, what an amazing cultural experience, and of course, everything tasted amazing because Chef Alex doesn't miss. What's happening? Welcome to Los Hermanos Carniceria. We're coming to Los Hermanos Carniceria to pick up materials to make amazing fajitas. Why are we coming here? Number one, it's an amazing cultural experience that we have in Austin, Texas. Number two, we have some of the most auténtica salsa auténtica, authentic salsa that you can find here, amazing. We can also get cebollas, jalapeños, y también, that means we can get onions and jalapenos, and also we can get amazing meat at a lower price here than we can many other places. This is gonna be awesome. We're gonna have really good tasting food. Check out how really fun it is and an amazing cultural experience. To start off, the first materials we're gonna get are tortillas de maíz, corn tortillas. These are actually fairly authentic, except they're also made with non-GMO corn. Non-GMO corn is very important to me because most corn from the United States is GMO. That means farmers are using Monsanto product, and it can be quite inflammatory for people who have inflammatory issues or even those who don't. So we like the non-GMO corn, probably gonna pay a little bit more for these. I think these are like $4 for 30, so it's still pretty cost effective at La Tienda Mexicana. Next up, we gotta get the spicy food, comida picante. Here we have serrano peppers. These are quite spicy. And then we also have jalapenos. These are larger and less spicy. We're gonna get a couple of each, and they're going to be amazing supplements to the fajitas that we will cook later. Another staple for the fajitas are green and red peppers. These are going to be cooked in some bacon fat, and they're gonna taste amazing on the side of our meat and carbs. One of the tastiest meats that we can find, whether at an American place or a Latino place, is skirt steak. So we're gonna get that. It's only $12.99 here, and it's gonna be awesome. Hola. Hola, por favor, un kilogram de skirt steak. ¿Regular o marinade? Regular. Gracias. Okay. I've had this before. This is some of the best salsa roja that you can find, much better than I could possibly make myself. So I'm gonna pay them $3.60 for it. And of course, what are good fajitas without a little bit of beans on the side? We're gonna cheat, we're not gonna make our own. We're going to get these refried beans, and I'll show you a secret for how to make them taste just like the taqueria when you have them in your kitchen. And of course, who could forget the cheat code to make any savory food taste great? Garlic and onions. Before we head over to the kitchen, I want to share one cheat code that I have found over the years that signifies the most authentic Mexican food. Anytime I can find a carniceria, taqueria that is close to a check cashing place, I always go. Don't ask me why, probably not PC, it just always tastes great. You may be wondering, Alex, ¿por qué puedes hablar español? Alex, how come you can speak Spanish? Well, it just so happens that I spent a couple years of my 20s playing professional baseball with a bunch of Dominicans, Venezuelans, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, all of whom taught me how to speak Spanish. There wasn't much else to do in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming and Washington State, so I spent 2 to 3 hours per day practicing my Spanish. It's come in very handy since moving to Austin, Texas. A lot of people think I'm Hispanic. Sometimes they'll just talk to me directly in Spanish. So being able to communicate in Spanish is not just fun, it actually helps me get food cooked the way I want it, and it makes for good videos like you're seeing right now. So in order to get started on the Chef Alex fajitas, we want to work on the meat first. So we're gonna get a Ziploc bag, get the meat, salt, pepper, and a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. Let's see what we got. And we've got our skirt steak on the paper towels. We want to add salt on the top. You can be a little bit liberal. Salt makes training easier. We want to add a little bit of pepper. And we're going to flip it around and do it again. Kind of overdid it there. This is the trick. Just mat it. Now we're even. Once we're done seasoning our meat, we're going to throw it in a Ziploc bag. We're going to add some extra virgin olive oil to the bag. And some people like letting it sit for several hours. That's probably the theoretically best thing to do, but we're not going to wait that long. And frankly, we don't need to. We just want the meat to soak up a little bit more fat so it can sear nicely on the cast iron pan. So we're just going to let the olive oil get soaked up by our skirt steak, and we're going to put it on the side while we chop up our veggies. First step before prepping our veggies is we want to wash them. We have our veggie wash diluted with water. We're just going to let these things soak for about 30 seconds. Let it swish around before we wash them off with water and then cut them up. Now I want to start slicing our peppers and our onions. Start from the side so we don't get too many of the core seeds. Keep going around. Now we want to turn on the flame. We are going to add bacon grease to the pan. And as it heats up, we are going to peel the onion so the outside doesn't get in the fajitas. That would be a no-no. And the vegetable we are going to want to throw on first is the onion, because the onion takes the longest to properly saute. So we'll give it a little bit of a head start. And we'll want to continue to reapply animal fat. If you got bacon grease, it's great. If you don't, other animal fats are good. And while this heats up, we're going to want to get the front pan going so we can start cooking our meat. One of the keys to cooking good fajitas is time efficiency. So we want to cook multiple things at the same time, and this is actually how we do it. While we wait for the cast iron to heat up, we're going to start preparing our tortillas. Got a little bit more bacon grease, and we like to have at least 3 pans on the flames at the same time, because that's what our friends in the Biden administration prefer. Once we see that our onions getting a little bit browned, we can start throwing in the peppers in the same pan. You should be wearing a shirt if you do this. I'm not, for performance purposes, but this grease is going to get a little bit hot and it's going to come up. And let's hope that I don't have any burns by the end of this video. Once the tortilla pan is hot, we will open up our GMO-free tortilla bag and throw the first one on the pan. What we want to do is get the first side soaked in grease and then flip it right away. Otherwise, you're going to get one side overloaded with grease while the other side will be greaseless. This will taste way better. Now that we see smoke rising from the cast iron, it is ready for our skirt steak. So we'll take the first one. That's a good sear. We like that sear. Put the second one. We love that sound. Once we see the tortilla bubble like that, we want to do a better job flipping than that. We flip like that. As we see the onions continue to brown and the peppers start to get charred, that's when we want to add the jalapeno to to the pan because everybody likes a little bit of spice on their Chef Alejandro fajitas. We'll leave it whole, just let it cook like that. While that cooks, we're going to take a couple garlic cloves, we're going to use our smash strategy to take the casing off, and we are going to place these smashed garlic cloves in the mix. Tortilla number one looks about done. So we're going to put this to the side, re-lube the pan. Do the same thing for tortilla two. Spread it around, flip it. Now once we see a little bit of moisture starting to come up through the steak, that's when we know it's a pretty good time to flip it. Open our can of refried beans, because this is what's going to be going on the tortilla pan next. That may look gross, but I promise it'll look pretty good just a couple minutes. By now our onions have fully charred and our peppers are good to go. And our jalapeno is getting nice and toasty. So we're going to put these on the side while the meat finishes up. While the steak continues to cook, we're going to take our lime, we're going to cut this up into quarters. We will soak the meat with it. Won't be the last time. And our smaller piece of meat looks just about done. We're going to take this bad boy off the cast iron. We're going to let this thing sit for a few minutes while the larger piece continues to cook. Once we have our 3 tortillas ready, we're going to put them in the microwave just to keep hot. Want a nice little container so they're toasty. Now the secret to prepping refried beans at home to be just as good as a taqueria, we want to add a little bit of bacon grease. We want to add, this looks gross, but I assure you this is how we do it. We're going to add some of the refried beans to the pan. But the secret ingredient is water. Add a little bit more salt. And it's good. Now that our larger piece of steak looks pretty decent, we're going to take it off. We're going to let that sit. As these sit, we're going to put more lime juice on them. While the refried beans fry, we want to slice up our avocado. And we are going to make this into nice little eighths. After our smallest cut of skirt steak has been resting for a few minutes, we're going to start slicing it up. Once our beans are ready, we're going to put a nice little portion on the side. And if you ever wonder what that powdery cheese is on top of Mexican dishes, it's cotija cheese. We just put a little bit on top of the refried beans and they're going to go great. And our last step, after we've cut up all the steak, is to cut up a little bit of serrano pepper. Wow. When they say I should open a taco stand, they're not wrong.